Okay. Wow. Let me move all this stuff. So what happens when you have an impromptu live stream? What what is that thing? Oh, it's that. Okay, let me see if I can get this going. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Yep, I'm good. I can hear myself. And not surprisingly, there's no one here because I just announced this live stream um, 30 minutes ago. So we'll see if anybody shows up. If nobody shows up, then I'm going to do what I always do, which is I'm going to do my thing because that's why I like live streams because they live here um, online, regardless if anybody shows up and people can watch it after the fact. Um, Let me make sure my microphone is hot. I see the signal, so just want to make. Okay, yeah, yeah. What does this arrow do? Oh, it just shares. Okay, still figuring this out. All right, just doing some back end stuff. Don't mind me. Let me see if I can get this, get some people here. I'm literally sending an email talking about how I'm live right now. Okay, I think that's good. Okay, so I'm gonna give it maybe 2 more minutes, and then I'm just gonna start because um, this is gonna be recorded, so it doesn't really matter if no one's here right now. And I mean, it's Friday, like it's Friday, 9 a.m. here in Japan, and that means it's like evening in the States, so people are probably cooking dinner and stuff. And then once again, I just sent this email out like 30 minutes, 45 minutes ago. So, um, hey, this is kind of what happens, right? So, um, I hope everyone's doing well out there today. It's the end of a pretty um, it felt like a short week for me. It's Friday, um, and I don't know. It was just one of those weeks. I actually got a little sick this week. Just had a weird like. It was Tuesday, and I got up. And I just could not stop sneezing. I don't know what the hell was wrong with me. I sneezed so much. I felt like I worked out. Like my abs were so tight, and my back was so like stiff from sneezing all day. I was like, "What is going on here?" And it was totally random. I've had allergies since I've since I was a kid. I've had bad allergies, but actually here in Japan, I haven't had them too bad. And then all of a sudden, this random day, so it was like 2 days. I started taking medicine, and my wife was like, "You need to cut down, take a break," and I did a little bit. I let off the gas just a little bit, not too much, but a little bit. And I took this like it wasn't tussin. It wasn't tussin, but it was like just generic, like basically the same thing, right? Like NyQuil, and I even asked them. I punked out. I went to the store and I was like, "Do y'all have the capsules?" Um, and of course they didn't. So I was like, "All right, just give me the syrup, give me the juice, give me that lean." So, so I took it the first night. And every time I take this stuff, it just destroys me. Like I'm just loopy. Like I can barely like focus, and I still manage to like record a podcast episode, record a bunch of like audio stuff. I managed to do stuff while I was under the influence of this um, cough syrup. But yeah, I mean, my my sneezing was gone though, but I'm just like in a freaking haze, like I'm high or something. Like it's crazy. And so my wife got home and was like, "You should probably take it again," and I did yesterday. Well, not yesterday, the day before yesterday. That was Wednesday night, and I felt better. So today is the first day I'm completely clean, no lean, no cough syrup, just whatever, nothing. Okay, so we're 6 minutes in. I'm done tap dancing and stalling. Um, this live stream, and I hinted that it was going to be some big announcements, and there are, because I've been very busy in the last month, and I think I've been trying to do a live stream or a live event every month, since we got settled here in Japan, and did one in September, and that one was focused around Sirius and Limnic at the time. You see the poster behind me for my audio drama slash audio podcast, audiobook, whatever you want to call it. And then last month was focused on a new podcast that I launched with my brother Ajani, Two Brothers Talking. So that podcast is out now, and it's been almost a month, and it's been pretty successful in just a month. But so I wanted to take it back this month, and since I was like, last week we kind of had a mini vacation, so we weren't here the weekend, and then next week is Thanksgiving. Obviously, it starts the holiday season, so I was like, well, I got to do it this week because next week is holiday time. Everybody's going to be Black Friday, getting their Christmas trees, listening to Christmas music. I already hear Christmas music here on Island. Like it was like a week after Halloween, and we walked into this restaurant and they already had the whole shebang. The John Legend Christmas music was playing and all the stuff. All the standard holiday stuff. So I figured this was like my last shot before like this month is almost done to do this. And there's a lot that I've been up to besides growing this funky beard, that is actually lasting. Usually beards don't last on me because I usually screw them up and I try and like, trim them and be all neat and stuff. And then I screw it up and then I end up, okay, screw it. I have to start all over again. But I haven't done that. It's lasting. So, um, yeah, I like it. And my wife, she's getting used to it. So, I think she's all right with it. Okay, so who's it? I have a list of stuff that I want to go over. I wrote it all down and already did the welcome. And I say, who's here? Well, that's easy. Nobody's here right now. There are 0 people here during this live stream, and that's okay. Maybe you're listening to it, watching this after the fact, and that's cool with me. Um, I just want to remind you, I'm gonna say it a couple of times. Please subscribe to not to this YouTube channel. I mean, it's cool if you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Um, YouTube's not really my big focus. I'm not really. It's a nice vehicle, and I like that it make it easy to go live and do this. But my big focus is my website and um, KeithHayden.net. If you go to KeithHayden.net, please go there and subscribe. I'm gonna put the link. Actually, let me throw the link in the chat now. I've got infinite time because no one's here, like watching. Um, Let me just throw it in there. Okay, so there's KeithHayden.net. If you go into the main page, then you scroll all the way to the bottom, then you'll find the subscribe box, and you'll be able to subscribe to the list. And the list, I'm doing some tweaking with how I use the list, because previously I was using it for like, um, I would send these long monthly emails and updates and, all my projects. Basically, what I'm doing now, I would do it in an email form. And then I had the media recommendations, which I really had a good time with that. But um, because of the big announcements today, because of the big announcements today, I'm no longer doing that. I'm changing my email formats, and so I need to. But that still remains my main list, because those are the people that have, been with me since, COVID last year, even before I was doing any podcasting or anything. They're on that list. So, um, yeah, please join and subscribe to that list. Don't worry, I'll remind you a couple of times throughout this broadcast. Okay, so what have I been up to? Let me quit teasing and dancing around and just get to the point of why the main reason I wanted to do this live stream. And it's because the big news, or one of the big pieces of news, is that I have began the process to form an official business around my creative efforts. That's right. Forming a business around my creative. Oh, I think somebody showed up. Somebody there. Who's there? Shout out. I've been talking to myself for the last 11 minutes. Who's there? You're the first one, so I had to. Maybe it's not even anybody I know. Never mind. Maybe you're just somebody who. All right, I got a thumbs up, so I appreciate it. Let me know that you're there. Maybe it's somebody that just saw, because YouTube gives the okay. Here's who's live. It's and I keep thinking to myself, it's the middle of the day here. It's the middle of the morning here in Japan, but in um, it's Molly. Molly, you came. Hey, yo, Molly, what's up? It was a long shot. I was like, whatever. Maybe she'll have time. Big love. Yeah, yeah. No, appreciate it. Yeah. That's gonna be another big announcement I got later on. Molly's representative from a new company called Verbal, and I'm doing some work with them. So that's for later. That's just tease, but appreciate you being here, Molly. And then somebody else walked in. Um, but back to what I was saying. I'm in the process of consolidating all of my creative works, which if you've been following my stuff, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of stuff that I do, into a business. And the business will be called Hack Studios, HAC Studios. And what HAC stands for is Hayden Academy Collective Studios. So on Verbal actually is where the first iteration of Hack Studios lives, even though there's no official business entity around it. And basically, what Hack Studios is, it's a catch-all umbrella for all of my creative work. So my writing, my music production, my podcasting, my whatever, all that stuff is going to be under the umbrella of Hack Studios. And the reason why I called it Academy Collective is because those of you who have seen my live streams before, I'm a teacher. Like, that is kind of where I live. I love teaching. I love educating. So I want to have that element in there of always being able to teach some type of skill or something useful or something that moves the majority of humanity forward. That's why I do my stuff. That's why I write. That's why I do music. I'm very inspired by that in general. So that's what Hack Studios is going to be. And then collective is because eventually I hope that it's not just me up in here, like sitting in this room, just doing my own thing. I hope eventually that other people want to, do stuff. And I even told my wife, I said, hey, baby, you could write a book. And she was like, well, what would I write about? And I was like, you could write about whatever psychologists do. I don't know exactly what they do. I mean, I know like in general what they do, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know the specifics. And she was like, oh, okay, that sounds like a good idea. So it's really a catch-all umbrella. And I filed paperwork over here in Japan. There's a specific process that I have to go through over here, um, to make that happen, to make it official. But then now I'm looking for like the official business entity. So that is big news number one. Lots of big news coming during this live stream, but that is number one, is that I'm taking all this stuff that I've been doing for years: podcasting, writing, blogging, vlogging, logging. I made that up last week. I was recording some stuff for one of my podcasts when we were out on a trip, and I said, they have blogging and vlogging. Nobody calls it audio logging, a log. My wife laughed a little bit about that. Maybe I don't know what they call it. Maybe somebody has a name for a log. I don't know, audio log. But um, all that stuff is going under Hack Studio, so I'm very excited about that. And um, yeah, I'll get to where you can see some of the stuff that I'm working on later on. Next piece of business. I'm also working on. Oh, okay. We got two more people popped up. All right. Hello. Shout out where you're from in the chat. Let me know where you're from. I'm sitting here. It's a really nasty day over here, man. It is. I woke up at like 1:30 a.m. because the wind was just gusting, y'all. We live like very close to the beach over here, and it's nice when the weather's nice. But when the weather's crappy like it is today, whoo, man, I literally had to go out like 1:30 in the morning, make sure stuff doesn't fly away. Um, my wife just rolled over and went back to sleep, but I was out trudging in the darkness. Just, is this gone? Is that gone? Anyway, welcome to everybody. Welcome. Shout out if you are in the chat. Let me know where you're from, where you're coming in at. Back to business. So, Tower of Babbling, Japan. Hey, what's up, bro? Hey, yo. The homie's here. This is my brother. And we need to catch up, man. I haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks. The co-host of Two Brothers Talking, my brother's here in the chat. Shout out to my brother over in Georgia. I love him. Back to business though. So if you've been following my podcast, The Tower of Babbling, which most of you probably aren't because you're not in Japan and you have really nothing to do with Japanese at all, and you're not interested in learning Japanese, but that has been a huge like focus of my time in the last couple of weeks is reviving that podcast. So what I did was I had a podcast last year, my first podcast called The Tower of Babbling, and I revived it, rebranded it, whatever, into The Tower of Babbling Japan, because that first podcast just focused like on generic language advice, and then this one focuses on learning Japanese because I'm here in Japan and I speak Japanese. I like learning Japanese and I'm still doing it actively. So that's where a lot of my time is going. So that will also be a separate business as well. The Tower of Babbling will be called The Tower of Babbling Learn Japanese. And this is kind of an experiment that I'm running because um it hey, what's up, cuz? Mike from SA from home, man. From the Tone, the 210 in the house. Hey, what's up? Good to see you. I'm glad you guys made it. I was looking for the link for y'all, but man, I just couldn't find it on mobile. I couldn't get it. So I'm glad y'all found it. But yeah, so the Tower of Babbling Japan is it's going to be learn Japanese. It's going to be its own business, and I said it's going to be experimental because I'm trying to see if I can maybe replicate the model with other languages. Because of course I speak Spanish and Mandarin Chinese, and just trying to see how it goes. So the big thing that I'm working on, which is another big announcement, is a course to go with the Tower of Babbling Japan, and this course is going to be called Groundwork Japanese. Groundwork Japanese. Yeah, I like that word. I like that name. And I chose Groundwork Japanese because, the brand is the Tower of Babbling. So I figured we're building a tower of language understanding. So you start with the foundation, you start with the base, you start at the beginning, you start with the groundwork. So I thought it was kind of a clever way to like go along with the branding and everything. So you can't see it here, and I'm not going to turn my screen because I have it just so. And if I turn it, then you're going to see, well, the room isn't that nasty, but yeah, I'm just not going to do it. But on my wall, you can't see over here, I have a bunch of Post-its, and I'm taking a course to learn how to create a course. Very meta, I know. But I have everything lined out, like outlined, and I'm working on it. So I'm hoping to launch that course in February of 22 next year. So we'll see how that goes. But that's the other big announcement. So once again, I'm gonna remind you to subscribe to my there's three different ways you can subscribe. So all these different channels, these podcasts and stuff, they have their own email lists. So if you're interested in possibly like collaborating and working, and they're all going to be in the description. They should be in the description now. Hopefully they work and they're in there. But if you're interested in collaborating with me and Ajani in the future through Two Brothers Talking or like future course offerings, because we will eventually do stuff with more with that podcast, join the Two Brothers Talking list. If you're interested in learning Japanese, which I imagine there's not many of you out there because a lot of you in the States, but hey, whatever. Maybe somebody wants to, is curious. If your kids are interested in learning Japanese, I don't know. Then you want to get on the Tower of Babel in Japan list. And that one's in the description as well. And then if you're just interested in following me because you think I'm an interesting guy and you like what I'm doing here, what I'm about, how I do things, how I put my hands like this when I talk sometimes, then join my general list. Go to keithhayden.net and that should be in the description. So there's 3. So you can subscribe 1 of 3 ways. You pick whatever you like. All right, what do I got next on my list? I even wrote subscribe twice. See, I wrote it a couple of times. You know, I'm following the script. It's very boom military. Just I try and make it entertaining though. Okay, projects. Let's go to projects. So I'm pretty bad, as you can probably tell. I do a lot of different things, and I try to like see things through, and I try not to just like willy-nilly start big projects, but that's exactly what I end up doing sometimes. And the last 2 weeks, I've been pretty good about, okay, I only have 3 main projects that I'm working on, and I'm trying to hit them at a minimum 30 minutes a day, which it may not seem like much, but it's something. It's still better than nothing. So I'm going to list out these 3 projects, and then I'm going to explain like where I'm at and what I'm doing with these. And then I'll tell you where you can go get more information about all 3 of them if you want to stay like up to date about what I'm doing. First project is a military biography that I'm writing with an organization called the Price of Freedom Foundation. Now, I met this gentleman, Dennis, through a contact that I was on her podcast, and she connected us back in September. And since then, it's kind of blossomed into a good partnership for both of us because I'm a writer, as you all know. I'm an author, so this is kind of an interesting cross section between my experience as an agent, a law enforcement agent, which is what I did when I was in the Air Force, when I was in the military, and my writing, my fiction writing, my nonfiction writing. So I've been working on that for the past maybe 2 months, a month and a half, and I actually started writing the draft this month, and I've been participating in what they call NaNoWriMo or National Novel Writing Month, and this is where you try and get so many words towards your writing project. So I've gotten about 5,000 words towards this writing project. Oops. Don't touch that. Okay. It'll make bad noise. I've got about 5,000 words towards this writing project, and I'm very proud of it. It's going to be really great. I'm taking inspiration from the renowned American biographer Ron Chernow, who's written several famous biographies: Alexander Hamilton, George Washington. I'm reading Grant right now. It's an amazing book, and so I'm kind of using that as like the template um, to inform my writing and the style of how I want to style it. But of course, it's all my words and how I'm doing it. So that's the first project that I'm working on. Just putting a lot of time into that, and I'm just hoping to make it the best as possible. Oh, and by the way, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I'm just talking here. I'm just talking to myself, as we do a lot on the internet. But I know y'all are there. I see three, and I got 1 thumbs up, so I know. Second project that I'm working on. Well, now I see 2. Somebody, as soon as it's like a YouTube curse or something. As soon as I start talking about the numbers, I should just not even look at them. Don't even just act like they ain't there. Just as soon as I start talking about the numbers, they fall off. All right. Well, maybe somebody else will join. They miss out. it could be anything. I'm not going to be vindictive like that. Um, the second project that I'm working on. Oh, okay, awesome. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Um, the second project that I'm working on is the Tower of Babylon. I mentioned the Tower of Babylon, Japan, and that's taking up a lot of time. But there's two sides to that because obviously I'm developing the course. I already mentioned the course development, but the other side is the active podcast side. And what I like about the Tower of Babylon, Japan, is that I'm very plugged in to the language learning community on Twitter. So I've been on there for the past at least 2 years. And actually last year, I actually attended the Polyglot conference, so I made some connections there. Um, and I've just regularly posted, especially last year when I started my first podcast, the Tower of Babbling podcast. So it's I love this podcast. It's fun to engage with people on there. There's people that are very active. They're really passionate about learning languages, and some are really passionate about learning Japanese. So, but there's a whole back end to this. There's a website. I'm doing interviews for military personnel here that are in Okinawa right now, and eventually going to expand it to the greater of Japan. So there's a lot of moving parts to like the course development, and then the podcast management side is like they're both like full-time jobs. So though that's a separate project in itself. They're both kind of combined, but they're both under the Tower of Babbling Japan. So that podcast is there, and that's number two. Moving on to the third one, and this is my third big announcement. I guess we've had two big announcements now. Man, I told you, big announcements, big stuff happening right now. Big stuff. Number three. I don't know why I'm talking like that. There's this as an aside. I did a podcast episode earlier this week for a Tower of Babbling, and I just laughed pretty hard because I was talking about this particular issue in Japanese that it just really tans my hide. And I said, I could talk about this for a long time. I could go on a whole rant about this. And it just sounded so funny. Anyway, maybe it's not funny to you, but it's funny to me. Um, Back to Big's announcement number three. So for the past 2 weeks, I don't know if you've heard of, maybe you can put in the chat if you've heard of an NFT. I know Johnny has because I talked to Zero off about it a couple of weeks ago. A non-fungible token. I've been learning about NFTs for the past 2 weeks, and they've just kind of blown my world up. Like, because the technology is so huge, it has so many huge implications. It's a lot more than just flashing PDFs and GIFs. Yeah, Johnny's heard of it, of course. It's a lot more than that. And I remember when I first encountered NFTs last year, it was probably like summer. I want to say it was like mid-pandemic sometime. And I was like, what the hell is this? Like, everybody was like, oh, you got to get NFTs, whatever. And so I went on there, and it was all like just weird art and flashing and stuff. Like, I just didn't get it. But after doing like, deep dives and watching videos and YouTube and Reddit, Discord, all that stuff, I'm a believer. I'm a believer in the technology. It is going to change the internet in a big way. Web3 is on the horizon. It's already here, but it's just not mainstream right now. And I've been talking with a colleague who I'm working with. Johnny and I have been working with him, Steven. Steven, shout out if you're watching this. I'm not sure if you could make it or not, but yeah, Steven, it's definitely blossomed into a friendship between us, just between our kind of common goals to advance our individual missions. So Steven's got a podcast called Mortal. It's called Collected Audio, but the show he's running on there is called Mortal Steel, and he wants to use this technology as the basis for his collected audio for telling audio stories. Pretty cool stuff. But I had no idea what he was talking about the first time we got together. He was like, "Oh, NFTs." I was like, "NF what?" I had no idea. But now I do. And because of that, it led me down this huge rabbit hole. I actually bought crypto last week. I mean, I bought a lot of crypto too. Like, if you're not in the crypto space, You don't understand. You don't understand what's happening right now. Like there's a freaking gold rush going on right now. Like I used to live in California. Okay. Oh, okay, Molly, you said the magic word. Yeah. I'm I'm super bullish on NFTs. I know right now it's like in a dip and stuff, like whatever. They can dip right now, but the technology is here to stay. So what I'm bringing all this up, besides telling you that I bought crypto and I may or may not have burned a good amount of money on some crypto, that may or may not pay off. And I actually minted my own NFTs, by the way. I've minted 3 NFTs. And the first one was a disaster. Disaster. I put a GIF up, the GIF didn't go. It was just a blue screen. A blue screen at that. So I had to mint another NFT to say, like, oh, sorry, like that was a mistake. Don't look at that one. Look at this one. And it was a mess, y'all. Anyway, there's gonna be trial and error like that. But I'm ready to get in on this technology. I'm ready to learn about this technology, and I was until I kind of hit a wall. And I mentioned this to Steven in an email, that I didn't understand the tech behind it. And a lot of the space, and Johnny can attest to this because he's been learning all about this in his trainings lately. Smart contracts, coding, that stuff is another language to me. It's Latin. I don't understand it at all. So I found a program that I'd actually signed up for earlier this year called the Odin Project, and I'm working my way through it. And what the Odin Project is basically community created curriculum to help people become web developers. And if you go on Verbal, I have a audio clip explaining like why somebody like me who does not want to work as a web developer, do not want to be a web developer, not this guy, would do something like the Odin Project. And it is simply because the long game is to be able to manipulate NFTs and smart contracts and be able to participate in a coherent way in Web3 and in blockchain technology and all the implications that come with it. The whole kit. I want to be able to do it. And it's very similar that drives a lot of the things that I do. Like I don't like being shut out. I'm one of those guys, don't give me the trial version of your app. I don't like that. I want to use the whole damn thing. If I like your app, give me the whole app. Don't piecemeal me the partial. What is this half app? What is this? Like I can't have that. So I don't like doing stuff halfway. So that's why I'm getting into NFTs. And not NFTs, I'm sorry. That's why I'm getting into this web development basically. And it's been crazy. It's been super crazy. Or like I have done things in the last week that Ajani, I haven't told you this. I installed Linux on a virtual machine. A virtual machine, dog. I didn't even know what it was until I know, right? Me. I didn't even know what the joint was until they were like, "Go here, do all the stuff," and they told me. I'm fooling with the command line, man. The command line, bash, bash, the computer language, not like bash your skull into the wall or something. Like real bash, man. It's crazy stuff, and yeah, and I'm joking around about it, but I bring the same kind of attitude that I bring to like my language learning. I've learned a ton of languages in my life. I've learned, I think a couple of years back. I know, man. I'm going to the dark side, man. I'm going full tech. I'm going full crypto, and I bring this experience because I told myself a couple of years ago. I was like, man, if you can learn how to play any video game, in video games, it's all like that, right? Each game has its own system. It's got its own moves, its own button combinations. This character does that. That character does that. You got to learn whole new systems. And I'm like, if I can do that for a dozen video games, I can sure do it for like a language or a programming language or Japanese or Spanish. That's just kind of how I think about it. So maybe if you're watching this, Think about that, because anytime you learn it doesn't have to even be a video game. Anytime you watch a new show or something, you're learning a whole new system of how this show works, how these characters work, what's their things that they, what's this show about? You have to learn all this stuff every time you kind of go into it like a long-term type of thing. So I was like, man, I can do this for tech. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Shout out, Molly. Yeah, that's what I thought about it in the last couple of years. So I've been applying that to real life scenarios and real stuff, and I've grown so much. I mean, I started doing music in March of this year, and I've done nearly 20 songs for my previous podcast. So I think that's a good transition, actually, before I start talking about music. So, Molly, thank you for, I don't know why you're still here, but I appreciate you being here. Verbal. So just this morning, I met with Molly, who is just been so helpful with me all the way over here. And I've become an ambassador for Verbal, the platform. And what Verbal is, I'm going to put the link to my station, because they call them stations on Verbal, in the chat. So what Verbal is it's basically like, I think of it like YouTube, but for audio. So basically they're getting all the audio on there, including podcasts, including clips, including audiobooks, anything except for licensed music. They have it on this platform, and it's fairly new. You probably have not heard of it, but what I like about Verbal is that they allow you to make snippets of podcasts. And as somebody who's been podcasting for nearly 2 years now, just the simple act, you would be surprised how difficult it is to make freaking snippets. Snippets. I don't know why I like saying that word. Snippets of your individual podcast episodes. It is amazing how difficult it is. And I actually got off of this one platform that charged an insane amount to just make snippets. It's like, I just want to take my own stuff and cut it up. Why does it cost $200 freaking dollars a year? Like, I don't understand that. Everybody's got a business around everything nowadays. It's crazy stuff. But what Verbal allows you to do is, if you're on their platform, you just make the snippets, and then they go one step further by making the snippets to where they connect to the original audio source. So if I make a snippet of like one of my Japanese podcasts, I can have that snippet. It makes a separate web page, and then it still connects to the original episode. So you don't have to do this business of redirect them to your podcast feed or to your RSS feed or wherever your podcast lives. You don't have to do that. You just make the snippet, and it works. And they have a really powerful SEO engine. That's one of the things I walked away this morning. Molly was like, man, SEO is strong, super strong over there. And I like that, because I'm an SEO guy. I know SEO pretty well. And yeah, I'm looking forward to really taking advantage of that. But what I've been using Verbal for as an ambassador is, I'm an ambassador for their audiobooks and stories category. So they have a ton of different categories on there. And as an author and working on, obviously, biography project, I'm an ambassador. So what that means is they're going to help promote my stuff, and I'm going to help promote Verbal, just like I'm doing now. So I'm not just bringing it up because I'm an ambassador. I'm also bringing it up is because I really like the platform. For the last, I want to say, 2 weeks, I've been posting short snippets. And the way I'm using it is because a lot of people on Verbal, they don't create native content. They just make snippets of other people's stuff, or maybe they make snippets of their own podcast, but they're not making like native stuff. I'm doing that. And I don't know if it's going to work in the long term, but I'm basically saying, hey, if you want to hear my insights about my biography work, my tech thoughts, and I just started another one yesterday, another playlist, reading thoughts, then you got to go to Verbal to get it. The only place it's going to go. I'm sure Molly's liking that. But it's true. That place that doesn't live anywhere else. And I'm experimenting with this short form and that's very popular nowadays, right? TikTok, YouTube Shorts. Facebook has gotten into the Shorts game. Shorts are like they're new. They're good. Are you? Oh man. Okay. Nice. I'm going all the way up. I'm going all the way up to the CEO. I'm just a little old ambassador. I just started today. Today is my first day, and I'm already going to meet the CEO. I don't even have a tie on. Um, Glad to hear it. Um, but yeah, this is great stuff. This is a great platform, and I'm I'm after meeting with Molly today. I'm looking forward to like leveraging the power of it even more by taking advantage of it the way that yeah, the way that she has instructed us. So all that to say, I'm gonna be making snippets on there. I'm making short native content on there, and I've done it. I've done I think like 6 in my biography one, to where I just talk about kind of my thoughts about what I'm working on that day, because that's what I like. And Ajani, you can attest to this if you're still there. The writing process. Every time you write something, there's just a completely different um, series of thoughts going on in your head, right? Depending on where you're at. And that's what I love about the writing process. It's so exploratory, not just exploring yourself, but then you're exploring the subject that you're writing about, and whatever. It could be fiction or nonfiction. You really get that that relationship and depth with the content. And I love that. And I wanted to share a little bit of that. And I love podcasting. I love hearing myself talk. I just all I do is talk to myself all day. Feels like my wife's like, What'd you do? What'd you do today? How was your day?" I'm like, "I just talk to myself." Oh, just talk to myself. Don't mind me. But yeah, so this is kind of my wheelhouse, and yeah. Thanks, Johnny. Um, it's easy for me, and this is much easier than doing YouTube videos. I go back and forth with YouTube videos. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, let's YouTube, awesome, 3 billion people on there, whatever, billions of hours, and then I'm like, billions of hours. There's so many people on there. Like how are you gonna get it? But with Verbal, it's fresh land. It's a place, mythical place where even somebody like me can prosper. Yeah, it does run in the family, Johnny. But I mean, I feel like Verbals is newer, it's more experimental, and there's just not as many people on the platform. So YouTube's very saturated with a lot of stuff. And yeah, I anyway. So point is, check out Verbal. You can click the link. I think I've talked about it enough. But yeah, I'm gonna be heavy on there, at least for the time being. And we'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, Molly, appreciate your support. And I hope if your CEO watches this, thank you very much for creating Verbal. Like it. Love it. Um, I think I'm coming up to the end of what I wanted to say. I'm trying to think if I have any other. Oh, I wanted to do a section about what happened to. This is going to be the section where I talk about stuff that I was doing that I'm not doing right now. I just thought it would be funny to go over this. So, first one is what happened to Sirius and Limnick? Oh man, here we go. You can see the poster behind me. Sirius and Limnick. What happened? Well, what happened was last month I put out my last episode, and y'all, I freaking hated it. And I just listened to it, and I think it's because when I listened to it, I was, like, cleaning the house or something, so I couldn't hear or something. I don't know, but when I listened to it the first time, like and it wasn't, like, editing it because it's different. Ask anybody who is a sound designer or an editor. Stuff sounds different when you see all the waveforms and stuff on the screen than when you listen to it on, like, as a regular podcast listener. It just does. I was like, "This is terrible." I mean, this is a freaking rotten egg. I was about to say something else, but this is a nasty floating turd. And maybe it's not that bad, but you got to be critical of your own stuff. And I just didn't like it. So that was one of the reasons why I got to know Steven over at Collected Audio. And he kind of gave me some pointers, but I still haven't gone back to revisit it. And I'm in this place where it's very difficult to monetize that right now, like Serious and Limnic, because it's a lot more niche. It's fiction, it's science fiction, so it's just a lot more difficult than like say Tower of Babbling. And I'm in a place right now where I'm in between jobs. Come on, it's almost 10 o'clock on a Friday. I'm in between. I say I'm in between jobs. That's a euphemism for saying I'm pretty unemployed right now. But this is my job. Like I feel like I'm working right now, but um, nobody's giving me any money for it. But point is, like, I need this chair. Oh man, I can't even move around with this chair without this chair squeaking on me. Okay, I need to try and stay as still as possible. Anyway, the point is, I need stuff that's like more moving towards where I can monetize it more easily. And Serious and Limnic is not it. I love the story. In fact, I was ready to begin writing Serious and Limnic 2 this month, if not for the biography project, because I really can only work on two writing projects at once. And I always tell this to Ajani, I just have a hard time like going back and forth in that writing space with two different, like vastly different writing projects. So I was like, okay, I'll hold off on Serious and Limnic 2 until I can like finish Serious and Limnic 1 and then dedicate full time to that. So that's what happened to Serious and Limnic. Next one. What happened to your music? And I was thinking about this as I got up. The wind was howling and stuff and flapping and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah. So I thought of this with music. Like, my music is like for when I'm in times of plenty. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I have ideas for songs and melodies all the time, like every other day. Like, I'm like humming into my phone or something. I always have ideas, but to sit down and like start like actually hammering them out and like fleshing them out and all that stuff, I know that's gonna take a lot of time. And I know like with music, I kind of get this kind of bite to where once I start a song, I have to finish it. I don't care how many hours it takes. I don't care. Like I just get really obsessive. Like maybe somebody else out there is like that. I know Johnny's like this with some things. Um, I just I can't put it down until I'm done. So I'm like, I kind of can't do that right now because I got all these other things going on, and I'm in that in between jobs period right now. So I'm like, I know where music sits on my priority list. I'm not trying to be a professional musician. Being a musician is not going to pay the bills for me anytime soon. So I just put it in its rightful place. I love music. I get ideas all the time, and I'm really deep into this music theory course. I'm probably like 16 lessons in. It's crazy. I've been taking it since March, but I can't put it into practice, so it's not very. Oh, okay, okay. Asani getting back into it, huh? All right. Okay, yeah, no, we definitely got to catch up, bro. We definitely got to pretty soon. But yeah, I can't do it right now. I can't swing the time to do it. So it's moved from like a priority to like a third priority. Maybe I'll do it like once a week or something, but I'm really not moving on music. But um, yeah. And then the last thing, what happened to? What happened to your monthly emails? And maybe there's nobody on my email list here. Well, Ajani's on my email list, but Ajani, you don't count. I'm talking about like people that don't know me and they're on my email list. Um, yeah, so I used to do it, like I said in the beginning, I used to do these lengthy monthly emails to where I would just talk about, and they were great too. I think they provided a lot of value and fun. Like I would give the updates like I'm doing in this live stream, and then I would like go over like all the books that I read, the podcasts that I listened to, the video games that I played, the shows that I was watching, the movies that I watched, and what the end result was this curated list of things that somebody like me who's constantly creating stuff had consumed in that month, and I think that's really cool. Like I feel like you don't get that a lot. in a lot of places because there's just content just being fired at you everywhere nowadays. And nobody, it's hard to say like what's actually good, what's actually bad. You get really vocal people about what's really bad, and then you get really vocal people about what's really good. But then there's other things that are in between that you don't even know. So that's what it kind of served that purpose. So the bottom line is those emails, while I love doing them, first of all, they take a long time to write. They take like they take like hours to write, like every month. Like I sit down. Um, Second of all, since I'm like forming businesses around my stuff and I'm looking more into like ROI and stuff like that, return on investment. I'm like, it's just not worth the time to spend that time for something that is not doing something for, business purposes. Like it doesn't generate revenue, it doesn't get email subscribers. What exactly do you do here except be a long, super long email? Like, and I'm sure some of my my subscribers are like, "You're right, Keith. Why were you sending that super long email every month?" I mean, I had an email list, so I was like, "Well, shoot, like, let me try and use the email list. It's there for a reason." Um, Bottom line is, I'm looking for a way to bring those back, and I've thought like maybe Two Brothers Talking. Like we talk about books often, Johnny and I on the podcast, so that would be a good space to like share books or podcasts or things like that. But other things, I haven't really found a place for them yet. So they're kind of just floating out there in the ether. But I will say, if you are interested in that type of yeah, if you are interested in that type of content from me, follow me on Twitter, and it's in the description. I strategically put it in there. I did do some forethought before I fired up this live stream. Follow me at my KH underscore author because that Twitter account is more of like my catch all. Like I talk about writing on there, I talk about tech on there, I talk about crypto. Sometimes I talk about the show that I'm watching, The Big Leap. Is anybody watching The Big Leap? I heard it might get canceled. I was like, hell no, they better not cancel it. It's this show on Fox. It's like a drama, musical slash comedy. It's a really good show. It's a really good show. And what fascinates me is like the writing in it because they managed to like pack. It's basically like little YouTube videos. That's what it feels like to me. Like they managed to pack all these characters and all this stuff and all this story into like scenes that are no longer than 3 minutes. It's freaking crazy how good they are at doing this. Like it's amazing. And then they got musical numbers and everything. It's a crazy show. Anyway, sometimes I tweet about that. Sometimes I tweet about movies. So my KH underscore author is a very general catch-all account. And then my KH, I think it's KH underscore way too lang. That's my language Twitter. So only go there if you're interested in learning languages or specifically learning Japanese, because obviously that's the main language that I'm focusing on right now. So you have those two options if you want like more of the content that was on the media recommendation. So I got some false advertising going on my website right now. It's saying, "Oh, get these media recommendations," and it's like he ain't doing them no more. He stopped doing those, but that's the way it goes. Okay, we're coming up on an hour. Got about 8 minutes left. I don't like to make these longer than an hour. Um, does anybody have any questions? Besides, why don't you get a new chair? Because every time you do a live stream, it's like this. My wife came in last night and she was like, "Man, you are really getting good use out of that chair." Because you can't see under me right now, but it's ripped to hell. She's like, "You need to get like a seat cover for it." I said, "I need to just get a new chair." And she was like, "Well, you should get a seat cover first." I'm trying to think of one more thing I want to say. If there's no questions, please subscribe. Not to this YouTube channel. Like, I don't care if you subscribe to the YouTube channel. That don't help me none. Subscribe where it counts. It counts on the websites and on my list. There's a 20-second lag. Oh, great. I gotta be 20 seconds. I gotta wait like 5 seconds between my punchlines and my jokes. subscribe where it counts. Subscribe to my website, keithhayden.net. You can go to the main page and subscribe there, or click on the subscribe link to subscribe with Two Brothers Talking and subscribe with me and Ajani, or subscribe to Tower of Babbling Japan. Go and click that link. Okay, so are there any other questions? I feel like I covered everything that I wanted to cover. I'm glad people showed up because I don't want to say I was sweating that nobody would show up, but because it doesn't matter. Like if people don't show up in the beginning, it's going to be on YouTube. So just watch the replay. It's going to be here. So it's not going anywhere. So it is nice to have people like there as it's going though. Because it's like you're not just talking to yourself, even though you still are technically talking to yourself because there's nobody else here. It's just me and this creaky chair. Okay. All right. I don't want to sit here too long because I know people will be like, why did you just sit there for, did it freeze? What happened? I appreciate everybody for coming out. Molly, if you're still there, really appreciate your help and guidance and look forward to working with you with Verbal and the Verbal crew, Ajani and Mike, if you're still there, my cousin from back home, everybody back home. Appreciate you. Anybody else that just wandered in, or anybody else that's just watching this after. If you like it, leave a comment. I joked about like it doesn't matter if you subscribe to the YouTube channel. It does help a little bit because it'll be like, okay, the channel's at least active. There's still somebody there that's doing the channel. So it does help the algorithm if you like the video and if you subscribe, do all the things that everybody always tells you to do on YouTube, blah, blah, blah. But I hope that, in all seriousness, I hope that some of the stuff that I'm doing is a help to you. I mean, that's my goal, is to entertain, educate, and inspire. Those three things. I try and do that with everything that I put out. And I think just by being here, by doing more stuff, by being more vocal online, by doing more social media stuff, just trying, really just showing up, like, because I don't even have any businesses at this point in time. So I don't have like this measure of material wealth or success or anything. I'm not a New York Times bestseller. I don't have any podcast awards or anything like that, but I've consistently showed up for the past year and a half to doing similar things in this vein. And I've just felt it. And Johnny and I have talked about this, that I'm on the verge of something. And it's not just about making money, but I'm on the verge of like really hitting critical mass with my stuff and my message and the things that I'm passionate about. And I'm finding people that have those similar interests, like Steven out there. I'm finding those people. They've just been kind of showing up, and it's because I'm still showing up. And that's huge. It doesn't, overnight success it's a myth that we like to believe in. We want to think that, oh, it was overnight, but it's like, for me, this whole evolution has been minimum 4 years in the making, maybe 5, of like getting not just enough content, but just getting like myself ready to like step onto this stage, be able to do a live stream like this, know how to do it, the technical stuff, have something to say, have places to direct people. This stuff didn't happen overnight. It was a lot of work, a lot of trial and error to get to this point. So I hope that whatever you're working on, that's what I hope to convey through Hack Studios, Hayden Academy Collective, is this type of message. Like whatever you're working on, and especially with the advent of the metaverse and Web3, and you are going to be able to own your own stuff, and so it's going to be more and more important that you don't psych yourself out, that you feel like you're worthy of whatever comes your way. Because I know in the beginning I didn't feel like I was, so it kind of manifested that way. It was like, oh well, if you're not worthy, then you ain't gonna get anything. But now I'm telling myself a different story, and you should too. And with that, I'm gonna end the live stream because I think that's a good clip. Molly, I think that's a good I think that's a good clip to end on. I may have to clip that. That's one for the books. All right, thanks everybody for joining the live stream. We're about to hit an hour. Have a great weekend, and I will see you when I see you. I don't know. See you next time, or see you in the email, or see you on the podcast, wherever. Bye.